Now all the way out to the antenna, really, to try to throw off the BYU block.
Crab sets it free. Rebels need a point, try to get some momentum. Oswald gets it for them. 22-16, BYU.
Oswald taking advantage of the one-on-one that she had on the outside, easily puts it past Allison Larson.
Tarin Keith serves again. Takes Metcalf wide. Here's Larson. She's been quiet. She's blocked, and it's on the line. Point for the Rebels. Now they're within 5, and Karen Lamb gets a little uncomfortable, calls a timeout.
Oswald, notice how she gets all the way out on Allison Larson, taking away that line shot, blocking it off her head and on the line.
Timeout taken by the Cougars. 22-17 the score in game number 2. Game number 1 went to UNLV. BYU, Amy, you get the sense they need this one. They played with poise in game 2, and because I think of tradition and their talent, their coaching, all the stability. Anytime you watch a BYU team play, they've always played with poise. They don't get down, they don't get rattled. But they really do need to win game number 2.
They do, and they've got to be feeling that pressure right now, and especially as young as they are and inexperienced, when they get to those pressure situations, a lot of times you really don't get the output that you want from them. But that's just being young and inexperienced, and it's unfortunate that this year they don't have anyone to rely on in those situations, a go-to player where you can just give them the ball in whatever situation you know they're going to get the kill.
Right now, Nevada, Las Vegas is on a 4-point run. They've cut the Cougar lead down to 5, 22-17. Why are they behind in this game? Getting minus 143 in this game. BYU 286.
And yet they're still very much in this game.
Well, that'll help the Cougar cause. Metcalf with another kill. She now has 9 in the match. She's been kind of the unsung hero for BYU in this match. We talked about Larson so much, and Wilson got a ton of swings early. But Metcalf quietly has accumulated 9 kills. Wilkes dug, and a net violation called on BYU.
And what a great dig from Wheeler Crab. Really in perfect control, stopping Blair Wilkes for one of the first times this whole match, and the unfortunate net call.
Back to within 5, 23-18. Mahaffey is in there. Good pass. Buchanan was a bit out of position, and the set was way off the net, and as a result, it went into the net, and it's another point for UNLV, and now the Rebels are to within 4. Blocked out of bounds. Point for Laura Nielsen. And this will put you right in the action.
Great shot right there. As you can see, because that ball hit the blocker, that means that the UNLV block wasn't quite over the net as much as they would like, or that would have been down on BYU's side.
Kill for UNLV. Rebels keep it to within 4, 24-20. Saw Christina Kirshner in the front row. Number 15, Oswald, has it teed up for herself. Tacks it into the block. Oswald will get another try, splits the defenders. Metcalf has to dig, and she'll get the attack, rolling it over. UNLV scrambles, gets into formation. And Ocasio Clemente didn't have a whole lot on it, and as a result, BYU gets an opportunity, and they terminate.
It's one of the rare transition opportunities for BYU that they've actually converted on.
Back to serve Laura Nielsen. Cougars 5 points away from taking game number 2 and evening up this match. Kirshner, she's dug, but out of bounds. It's a good rotation for UNLV to score some points with Kirshner in the front row along with Ocasio Clemente. Question you have with Ocasio Clemente, though, is the confidence. Does she feel comfortable enough to be aggressive when she attacks, swings, and lands?
Well, it's so difficult when you're hurt to just go out and play fearless. But that's why she's in there. 6'5" arms. Kim Wilson, the freshman, really has no answer for that block. Just a huge, huge block. Clemente really, UNLV's really missed her this year.
tip off the serve, and Wilson gets a kill off the hands. Looked like Ocasio Clemente. And it's a point for BYU. His final 5 points to 30, just take an eternity. Even though you score on every point, on every serve. That's out of bounds, another point for the Rebels. 26-23, they've trailed by as many as 7, 8 at one point, but they've whittled that lead down to 3. 26-23. Kirshner with the serve. Tweaking works it to Larson. Quiet game in game number 2 so far. Keith loops it over. Larson turns center, goes to Wilson, and that's out of bounds. She didn't use the block, and it's a point for the Rebels. And UNLV is to within 2, and now you got yourself pretty much an even match, an even game. 5 points, one team still has control, but when you get to within 2 or 3 points, anything can happen. BYU setting it free after the serve is not what Karen Lamb wanted to see, and that's the last thing she wanted to see. Another point for UNLV, and a timeout is taken. That is the second timeout now taken by Karen Lamb, and her team now leads it by just 1.
Taryn Keith taking advantage of the line that she's been given and just uses the hands of Allison Larson out of bounds.
26-25. Cougars on top, but the momentum belongs to UNLV. Take a look at a couple of the shots again from the camera that we have positioned right underneath the up official. TJ's down there. This puts you just right in the action. I'm not sure if there's extra pay involved in that, but I'm hoping that somebody out there will help her out a little bit. She probably didn't realize when she applied for this thing that she's going to be in play. Have to give her a letter or something. 26-25 is the score.
And what a great substitution to put Clemente in there on the outside. BYU's outside hitters went on a tear in the middle of that second game and could not be stopped, and now they're silenced.
And we haven't seen Patricia Sunsao for quite a while. She had struggled offensively and really seemed to be tiring. And since she's gone out, things have picked up considerably for UNLV. And right in the middle, they tried to challenge Blair Wilkes. That was not a good idea. And now we're tied at 26.
Blair Wilkes, I think, touched that set before Carrie Bowers did. I don't think Carrie Bowers had a chance on that ball. I think she was just a tad late, which enabled UNLV to be all over that read.
That front line right now for UNLV goes 6'5", 6'3", 6'1". There's Wilson trying to hit it through Ocasio Clemente. She's really changed the dynamic of this game. This time they go away from her, and Asunsao was out of position, and BYU finally gets another point, 27-26.
And what a huge key block, Allison Larson. BYU really wanted to get out of that rotation.
Hitting percentages have changed dramatically, really, since we've reached the 20-point mark in this game. UNLV at a 109 clip and BYU down to 179. To go from negatives to 100 is a huge leap for UNLV. May not look good right now, but the last few points have been great for the Rebels. Block is there again. That was Wilkes. BYU sets it free. Here's Keith. And she's able to find a spot in that block. It looked like Larson and Bowers were there.
Keith really, wow, what a great shot. She goes line, but because Allison Larson is giving so much line, it still goes a little bit cross court.
And UNLV had taken the lead 28-27 until that point. Carrie Larson gets the kill. Beg your pardon, Allison Larson gets the kill. And it's a 28-28 tie. Maybe headed for extra points here in game number 2. Rebels lead it 1-0. Net Metcalf with a huge attack and kill for BYU.
And what a great set from the right side, Allison Larson. Karina Puikkonen playing the ball. The right side's forced to set, and she keeps the ball off the net, which has been so key for these outside hitters. With the block that UNLV has, you need the ball off the net, because anything tight, you're just going to get roofed.
Deidre Collins calls a timeout with BYU on top 29-28. The Cougars are at game point. Deidre right now drawing up her best side-out play, throwing it on the table and seeing if her team can execute it to get the ball back and tie this thing at 29. Karen Lamb, meanwhile, content with the way things are going. Team talking, assistants talking.
She knows that this is a must-win game for them. They certainly don't want to go into the break being down 0-2.
How difficult a season has this been for the BYU program, the BYU alums, the tradition, people who have been involved with the program for so long that are used to seeing that program in the top 25. It's not ranked right now for the first time since 1996. And everybody seems to know the situation. Elaine's gone, starters are gone. It's been a difficult year in many respects, but folks, they have some understanding.
Yes, there's plenty of reasons, but as the players, you have to feel for them, because to come in and lose is so hard to keep your intensity up and keep a good attitude, and yet they've seemed to do that.
Blair Wilkes blocked. UNLV trying to get the side up, the point that would tie it. BYU trying to close it out and take game number 2. Metcalf loops it. Dug by Franchini. Wilkes with the kill in the corner. Tied at 29.
Great transition play, Blair Wilkes. UNLV comes out of that break, goes to Blair Wilkes with the tight slide behind the block, and then goes right at her with the great transition 3 for the kill.
Tarin Keith with the serve. Metcalf. Franchini with a good dig. Libero does her job, and that's rolled long. And it's a point for BYU, and the Cougars are now at game point once again. Second one of this frame. 30-29. Here's Mahaffey back into the lineup. Michelle Mahaffey, senior from Martinez, California. Excellent serve. Joust. And it's poked out of bounds to the official, and it's a point for UNLV. Nearly an ace, and it ends up a point for the Rebels. Tied at 30. Wilkes will serve. They'd like to see her in the front row. Metcalf blocked. Puikkonen goes to Nielsen, and Nielsen terminates the play. Game point number 3 for BYU.
Karina Puikkonen doing a good job spreading the offense. She goes outside to Metcalf, and then on that transition, Laura Nielsen making the great call to split it and go back again towards the other antenna on the slide with the kill.
And it's a receiving error on UNLV, and that gives BYU game number 2. 32-30 the score in game 2. BYU has tied the match up at a game apiece. Game number 1, 30-27. BYU controlled game number 2 throughout much of that game, but the Rebels made it interesting. But BYU pulls off the 32-30 win to tie the match up at a game apiece. And I guess this is the kind of match that you would expect from a 4 and a 5 seed.
And both these teams, their back is against the wall, and they need to come out with a victory tonight in order to make it in the NCAA tournament, like we talked about earlier. And they're certainly playing like that. I think they both came out wanting to win. We didn't see a lot of the things that we have in the earlier matches, kind of slow starts. They both came out firing.
What was the difference between BYU in game 1 and game 2, and conversely UNLV in the two games?
Well, I think the serving is always a factor, and whoever can serve and control the team's offense, because neither team could get into offensive situations, and because neither team was passing well, they really needed to rely on their outside hitters. And when the outside hitters of either team were producing, then that's when either UNLV or BYU came out with with the win.
Well, let's take a look at the statistics from the first couple of games in this match so far. Neither team is hitting the ball all that well, but I think both teams have had a pretty good block. At least it's been tough to get the ball around the front lines.
It has neither team at 200, which is exactly, you want to be over that. Blocking about the same. We see both these teams very good blocking teams, and that's really the story, and kind of equal, which you would think that that would be the case, being both teams are 1-1. Service errors, though, really jump out at me. BYU really struggling serving. You don't know if that's due to the fact that they're trying to take UNLV out of their offense, so they're serving a little more aggressively, but they haven't been getting the aces that I would hope with that many service errors.
Individually, Blair Wilkes leads the way for UNLV. She has 10 kills and 16 attacks, hitting 500 for the match so far. And Lindsay Metcalf quietly 10 kills to lead the way for BYU, hitting 391 to lead their respective squads. One game apiece in the 4 and 5 matchup in the Mountain West Conference Tournament, BYU and UNLV. Well, folks here in Fort Collins love Colorado State volleyball, and starting to show up, knowing that it'll be the Rams and the Falcons, the 1 versus 8 matchup, and that will come after this one. But there's still a long way to go between BYU and UNLV before this one is all said and done. We'll take a break. We'll come back with some highlights of the first couple of games after this. Kind of patiently waiting for their first round matchup with Air Force, and they're the Air Force Academy Falcons, and why not come out here and watch this match? It's been pretty good so far. UNLV won game 1. BYU wins game number 2. So far it's been pretty good volleyball. Earlier today, Utah picked up a first-round win, as did San Diego State. So they are set to meet in the semifinal in this tournament. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of this match so far through the first couple of games. And first of all, for BYU in game number 1, it was Laura Nielsen having an outstanding start to the match.
Laura Nielsen in the middle, very effective, running both in front and behind the setter, throwing off the UNLV defense. And then in game 2, outside hitter Lindsay Metcalf really stepped it up, getting a lot of kills, coming for to lead her team with 10 kills for the match. She really has been a big player in that win. For UNLV, of course, Blair Wilkes in the middle. If they need a kill, they're going to go to Blair Wilkes, probably behind the setter, but if not, she could stay in front. Tremendous blocker, tremendous player. And Keith comes in for Leiana Oswald on the outside and does an incredible job getting her kills. She does a great job hitting the ball deep line to get those kills.
And a key substitution was made by Deetra Collins in game number 2. Sheila Ocasio-Clemente had been injured during warm-ups, was not sure if she was going to play. She came back out during game 1, worked the knee loose and got ready, and she came in there and played a little bit in game number 2. They took out Asunsao, and Clemente, I think, had played a big role in the comeback for UNLV in that second game. Wasn't quite enough because it was BYU who took it by a score of 32-30. Let's take a break. We'll come back. The third game is about ready to begin here at Moby Arena in Fort Collins. All the outdoor activity and the beautiful street scenes, they could have shot those today because the weather here has been absolutely spectacular. But inside, we've had some spectacular volleyball, so folks are starting to gather around as the Air Force Academy Falcons and the Colorado State Rams are getting set to meet up in this Mountain West Conference Tournament. With him again, I'm Bill Dolman. This is the third match of 4 in the first round. San Diego State has advanced. Utah has advanced. Who's going to advance out of this one? Anybody's guess. BYU and UNLV have split the first 2 games. Both of them close. UNLV, though, was much more impressive in game number 1 and really controlled from the first point to the last. They had to battle back to make it close in that second game. So we're down to the best of 3 from here on out. And out of the timeout, out of the break, it's UNLV with the opening serve and the opening point. 1-0 Rebels.
And serving is really going to be the story for whichever team can pull out this game.
Serving was a key there. BYU was unable to answer. Service ace for Nicki King. Sophomore setter from Phoenix, Arizona. Bowers is dug. And a violation, a ball handling violation called on UNLV. That's a point for BYU.
And both teams really having a similar strategy to serve the front row hitter. Take them out of their offense. They really want to attack those outside hitters when they're passing.
And that is the 8th service error on BYU. UNLV has committed just one service error in this match. Leiana Oswald serves for the Rebels, leading at 3-1 early on, game number 3. And that's off the block. No, it looks like there may have been a touch, but no indication from any of the officials. It sounded like there was a touch on the ball.
We can get a good look there, but unfortunately I didn't see. It was too fast for me to pick up.
Well, the officials didn't pick it up, and it results in a point for Nevada, Las Vegas. The Cougars don't come back, and they're able to get one of their own and make it a 4-2 contest. Sheila Ocasio-Clemente is beginning things here in game number 3 for UNLV, and Patricia Asunsao remains on the bench. And there's a service ace for BYU. Sahara Castillo with the ace.
Castillo has a great jump serve, and when she gets on a roll, she can get a lot of aces and some really nice serves.
Another good one, played well by Oswald. Kirshner is blocked out of bounds. Point UNLV.
Nice swing by Kirshner, hitting that ball off the hands of Bowers, trickling out of bounds.
Christina Kirshner will serve. 6'2", junior, Long Beach. And that's Castillo out of the back row, lunging in there to get a kill.
And both these teams, if they can convert on those out-of-system plays, that's going to really help their offense, since both teams' passing has struggled at times in this tournament.
On the run, Wilkes blocked. Metcalf was up, waiting for her.
Metcalf all alone on that ball. Very difficult to block a slide when you're one-on-one. She makes a great read, is over the net. Just a great block by Metcalf.
Keith didn't get a lot on that attack. Keith again, got a lot on that one, but she's blocked. Nielsen was there, as was Larson.
Now it's the second time UNLV has been blocked in as many swings. Look now for them to do maybe an off-speed shot, maybe a tip to avoid the BYU block.
Keith flying in, again she's blocked. And it looked like the attack may have been outside the antenna. The block, perhaps. The back judge indicating somehow the antenna was in play on that last exchange.
Well, it did hit the antenna, but the interesting is, was it off the hitter or off the block? Oh, good call. Looks like it was off the block of Allison Larson.
Tied at 6. And Metcalf's attack splits the block and goes wide. No touch. And UNLV is back on top, 7-6. Amy Lewis is doing the serving. Good one, little floater. And that attack by Nielsen goes off the hands of Leiana Oswald. Point for BYU, and we're tied at 7.
And that was a really nice time for Laura Nielsen to get that kill. Lindsay Metcalf, the outside hitter, was out of the play on the ground after passing that ball. Nielsen was one of the only choices Puikkonen had.
Metcalf goes over the top of Wilkes. That's tough to do. Here's Keith into the block. Covered by King. Keith will try it again, looping it over. Puikkonen taps it over. Oswald was waiting for her. Keith again, goes deep. No touch. Point BYU. 8-7 Cougars.
Great defense on both sides of the court. UNLV just missing that back line.
Ugly miss on the jump serve by Allison Larson. That at the bottom of the net, bottom tape.
You know, it's interesting, we talked about service errors before. The last time these two teams played, BYU had 17 service errors.
Well, they're getting close to that. Halfway there, that's 9 on that last one. And there's a rare service error for UNLV. That's just their second of the match. That gives BYU a 9-8 lead. Here's Metcalf. Good serve. Quick set. Wilkes. Good coverage by Mahaffey. Wilson's been kind of quiet. She's blocked. Oswald flies in and hammers it through the block and down. Tied at 9. We get to 10, we take a timeout. Both teams will probably be happy that they can catch their breath. And there's a kill by Puikkonen. Nobody was up for the block for UNLV. And that kill by Puikkonen gives the Cougars a 10-9 lead. Neither team in control just yet in game number 3. It's been a tight match so far. Nothing has changed in the third frame.
Welcome to Amli Gourmet, a Chinese American
Kind of match we expected from these two clubs. Each team has won a game, so we will go at least 4, and it would be fitting with these two if we may go 5. Dietrich Collins' club really played well in the first game, and then I don't think it's a matter that they dipped a little bit, although Assunção really struggled a little bit, but when they got Cassio Clemente in there, things picked up. I think it's just a matter of BYU just kind of getting in sync a little bit more and settling down. And Lewis somehow got that thing in play. And Kim Wilson swipes that away from Nicki King.
That earlier set, I'm sure BYU has been so happy that their setter is 6 feet tall.
How about the hitting in this game? UNLV hasn't even showed up. 0. Meanwhile, BYU 300 yet. Just a 2-point BYU lead. Oswald is dug off the scoreboard. A couple of Cougars collide, and it's bumped free but out of bounds by BYU, and it's a point for UNLV.
You know, hopefully you can chalk that up to a freshman mistake. Kim Wilson really could have had a nice approach and swing at that ball, yet she decided to go the safe route and free ball it over, but she missed that one too.
Wilson set that free. Oswald, she's dug. And the joust of the net won by Kirshner.
You know, Carrie Bowers really is so slow jumping at the net that it's very easy for the middle blockers from UNLV to see when she gets set. So it makes it all the more difficult for her to get a ball over the net.
The block was there for UNLV, but nobody else was home to cover it. And that gives the Cougars the lead once again at 12-11. Wheeler Kravis come in, the libero for BYU, and that serve into the net, and it just trickles over onto the UNLV sign for an ace.
And that's 2. They may be going in the barrel a couple. Yep, there you go.
Well,
pretty lucky.
She got a point out of an ugly serve and couldn't find the same magic the second time around. Another service error by BYU. Oswald will serve for the Rebels. And she gets an ace. So an error on one side and an ace on the other, and we're tied at 13 in game 3.
UNLV is attacking BYU's outside hitters. Metcalf has passed so many balls tonight, which is something she usually does. She really tends to be the target for a lot of teams, mainly because she is an outside hitter and they want to take her out of her offense, but she also tends to struggle sometimes, so therefore she gets even more, which is so terrible when you're struggling passing.
Castillo with the serve for BYU. Larson brings it to Metcalf. She's dug, and King. That ball hit the official standard. And that's a point for BYU, and that gives the Cougars a 2-point advantage. Another tough serve from Castillo. Franchini runs it down, scatters her teammates, and it's set free.
This is when BYU needs to run a quick middle and take advantage of that opportunity. Unfortunately, they give UNLV another chance for a kill.
And I think you saw 2 instances of what you were talking about, Amy, a moment ago. Carrie Bowers is so deliberate in her approach that it's able for the block to get set up, and it happened twice on that play.
Well, I think she's just so late. She's on her way down and just waits to swing at the ball until the block can be totally set up.
And that tip is into the antenna off Lindsay Metcalf, and it's another point for UNLV.
And with that, UNLV quickly takes control. They do a good job running that ball down a couple plays ago. They're able to capitalize and get the point, and they use that momentum to get 2 quick ones.
Another ball that's poked over by BYU. They have not gotten a full swing at a set. And I don't know how many rotations. There's one, and it results in a kill. So many dinks and pats and punches and roll shots that they've got to get Larson and Wilson to utilize all their power from time to time.
And at this level, you need swings like Larson does right here to put the ball away.
And like that. Wow. Talk about playing T-ball.
She has a cannon for an arm, and she just unloads on that overpass.
That's like a hanging curveball to a power hitter. Shows that. 2 teams trading power shots. BYU still has the lead, though, by a point, 17-16.
You know, as effective as Blair Wilkes is, you have to wonder how much better she would be if she was able to practice during the year.
Good point. And Wilkes sets that free into the block, and it's blocked out of bounds. Oh, my goodness. Metcalf got aggressive. You can't fault her for that, but she's got to have better control when trying to place the ball back on the other side, and doesn't hurt him too much, though, because Amy Lewis delivers a service error. And it's a free point for BYU. They have the side out and a 1-point lead. Here's Larson. Good serve at Franchini, who played it well. Asunsao was back in there. We assume she's fresh. She delivers a kill that gets the point and the side out for UNLV.
Great powerful approach and swing. Asunsao right back in the match, comes out. It's a nice cross-court shot.
And Asunsao will serve. Junior from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Just clears the net. Metcalf with the kill. She used the block nicely.
She did use that ball nicely. I was a little nervous considering how tight the set was and what a great blocking team UNLV is. But because Metcalf can elevate so well, she's able to hit that high off the hands.
Metcalf, good serve at Oswald, results in an ace. And that will put the Cougars at the 20-point mark and bring us to a timeout. They've not fallen behind by much, have the Rebels, but they've not been able to take a lead from UNLV.
Now we sign up for the official West Conference credit card issued by First USA, an official partner of the Mountain West Conference. Remember that.
There is a place where the search for cancer's cure happens to the sounds of John Coltrane. There is a place where a Nobel laureate teaches how to write from your heart, while some of the nation's leading scientists teach how to think with your head. Great art takes a measure of science. Great science takes a measure of art. The great university is built where they converge. UNLV.
We're out on Salt Flats with Brigham Young University's Formula Lightning race car. Cars that we're going to drive in the future will be battery powered. There's no doubt about it. We don't know what's on the horizon technologically. At BYU, we're developing tomorrow's technology and testing it on the racetrack today.
Great match so far, and the kids seem to be enjoying it just a little bit. It's not exactly standing room only just yet, but perhaps they're getting ready for the home folks when they show up to watch Air Force and the hometown Colorado State Rams hook up in the finale of the first round. BYU leads UNLV 20-18 in game number 3. Each team has won a game already in this match. Neither team in this game has been out by more than 3 points. The only time that happened was when UNLV was ahead 4-1, way back in this game. And UNLV gets the point under the timeout. Now they'll serve for the tie. It's 20-19. Blair Wilkes is in there.
And that's very different from the games 1 and 2 where we saw huge runs from both teams. Both teams playing a little more consistent. Really coming out and fighting for this third game.
Nielsen is blocked. And Mahaffey sets it free. Great play by the defensive specialist. Oswald whips one. Dug back over. King in a joust. Mahaffey again. Here's Kim Wilson. Quick set, Kirshner didn't make it over. 4-hit violation on UNLV. It's a point for the Cougars.
And what great defense, both sides. Sunsao doing a great job getting on the ground for that last ball. Very, very quick reflexes.
Talk about a balanced offense for BYU. As we take a look at a service error, yet another one. That's the 11th of the match. That from Nielsen. Metcalf has 11 kills. Larson, 8 kills. Wilson has 9. Nielsen has 8. Take a look at how the serving game is going. Things are fairly even, 4 aces each, except for the errors. Not even at all. 11 service errors for BYU. Think that hasn't been a factor in this match?
Well, and you're right, because the errors, I think Coach Lamb would be fine with some of the errors if they were just barely hitting, you know, outside. But these errors are at bottom of the net, out by 6 feet, and those are not good misses, as if there were such a thing.
Oswald, plenty of time to wind up. Plenty of time for Crabb to be ready and get the dig. Frankini with the dig. King plays it out of the net, but Kirshner can't keep it alive. Another point for the Cougars and a huge 3-point lead now.
And this is a huge time in the match where it can go either way. Teacher Collins recognizing that her team needs to get the next point.
Ocasio Clemente. And it's pushed out of bounds. Well, it looked like a Sunsao was going to try and dive and dig that.
Well, you just would assume if someone's setting the ball over, you assume it's going to be in. Fortunately, Metcalf tries to go too close to the line.
23-21, good serve from Oswald. And Oswald came in to play defense, and the ball went past her just as she got in position.
And a good serve by Oswald. Metcalf doing a good job passing the ball. Bowers hitting the 3-set for the kill. She does a good job running away from the middle, which is something I would do too, try to go after those seams.
And there's another one of those ugly service errors. Castillo.
Yeah, usually when you hit your own player, that's what we call a bad miss. A good miss might be where it's out by a foot.
Boy, and her facial expression told the story. And a huge attack by Metcalf. And it was all King could do to just protect herself.
And a great set all the way out. Metcalf can really hammer that line.
3-point lead for BYU. And there's a kill for Blair Wilkes. It's a pass Castillo.
You know, whenever UNLV has needed a kill, Blair Wilkes has been there. She really is the player that they go to when they want that kill, when they want that quick side out to get the ball back.
And there's a kill for Metcalf. Right now, BYU is just content to play side out. They've got a 3-point lead, which is as big as the lead has been in this entire game. And they'll just inch their way to that 30-point mark. Frankini, good pass for King. Sunsao with the kill. Boy, does she need that break in game 2. She was really fatigued and tired, and she got a good long rest.
And I really like the Sunsao serve. She scoots all the way back, which allows the ball to move and then drop.
And that sets it up for Wilkes. It's exactly what you were talking about, yeah.
Especially in a gym like this where the air is just so light, when you get a nice float serve going, the ball can move anywhere, which is just terrible. Whereas if you're, say, on the West Coast, you really like to get a jump serve because the air's so heavy, the ball just drops. So that's always fun.
So let's see, if it's at altitude, it will tail, and if it's at sea level, it will sail. Correct? Or other way around?
I didn't understand.
Physics wasn't my bag, but it is a fact, though, that the elements being in altitude does have an effect on the jump serve and on the serving game. And oftentimes teams will have more assists or service aces when they come to altitude.
And certainly, and when you travel to the West Coast, these teams at the higher altitudes are so excited because it feels like when you're jump serving, you can just hit the ball as hard as you can, and it's going to go in every time. Whereas when you come to these higher altitudes, you barely touch the ball, and it flies out at the back wall.
So at altitude, it will sail.
Sail.
There you go.
Yeah, what was it? Tail?
Tail. The tail. Okay. 3 matches in, and we're talking physics.
Which is not smart.
26-25 BYU. UNLV with the serve out of the break. Assunção with a good dig. And a kill for Wilkes. She has been the answer all night for UNLV.
And not only Assunção making the great dig, which has been something they haven't done against Metcalf, but she gets it up to the net, allowing UNLV a quick transition in the middle.
UNLV serving for the lead, and they're going to get it. They trailed by 3 a moment ago. They've reeled off 4 in a row. Assunção. And Amy, you talked about her serve, and it's been her serve that has done the job and has given them the lead and has Karen Lamb kind of nervous right now. Her team looked as though it was going to be inching toward a win in game number 3, rather. All of a sudden, that lead has evaporated, and now they're trying to stave off the momentum that has been accumulated by UNLV.
And Teacher Collins doing a great job with her subs. She's got to feel good. She takes someone out, puts in another player, does a good job, puts Assunção back in, comes out, makes some great kills, digs, and on that particular pass allows Blair Wilkes to get the transition kill.
Teacher Collins doing the teaching. Her team leads at 27-26. Blair Wilkes has scored 4 of UNLV's last 5 points, and she now has 16 kills in the match to go with 4 blocks. And in talking to the UNLV folks yesterday and a little bit today, when they talk about Blair Wilkes, they don't really talk about her as the intimidating presence on the floor for UNLV. She's kind of quiet and doesn't have a lot of power, but places the ball very well. But every time she's gotten a hand on a set or a block or something, she has been precise and has had some authority behind those swings.
She is a smart senior player that knows the court and where to put the ball.
Got a hand on that attack. Here's Oswald giving him a different look. Good coverage. Here's Oswald again, using the block this time. Crabbe gets it to Peekaboo. Metcalf over the block, and Franchini was just a little too far back in the back row.
Metcalf really getting a lot of sets on the outside, doing a great job getting back so she can get a nice approach. Sees that the defense for UNLV is sucked way in towards the 10-foot line, so just pushes that tip deep for the kill.
A rare time that Wilkes has dug. And Wilson tips it into the antenna.
That ball just a little tighter than she could handle. Can't quite reach that ball to save it. It's unfortunate that Wilkes has rotated to the back row.
I'm guessing that was a Rebel rally cap. Making do with what you got. And that attack goes wide. And now the Rebels, who trailed by 3 points just moments ago, find themselves at game point.
And in a very good rotation as far as what BYU has going on the other side of the court.
Nielsen hammers it at Assunção, and somehow she dug it to keep it alive. And Preekinen gets the kill. She's been quiet offensively and could not have picked a better time to pull off that play.
And I think it's difficult for her to turn down those tight passes. They're almost like the perfect set for her. She's got to take them and get the kill.
Oswald blocked, and we're tied at 29. BYU has survived 1, make it 2 game points.
And just when it looked like BYU was out of this game, they come back with 2 strong points to tie it up.
Kirshner blocked, poked up by King. Oswald plays it out of the scorer's table, and it's set free. Tied at 29. Wilson, great dig by Franchini, and King could see. She got it alive, or kept it alive, but it was Oswald trying to work it over the net. And with that, BYU regains the lead.
And this is exactly what you love to see. Each point in this third game has been fought for. Nobody's giving up any hard points, especially on this ball. Barely coming back on UNLV's side. Great work.
Timeout taken. What's Dieter Collins have to say? Not quite sure what she had to say, but it looked like she was into the music.
Well, I think she's just saying, you know, we're working hard, they're working hard. Let's just fight and see what happens. I think she's got to be happy with how her team's playing. You kind of look to see how teams are working on defense as to what their effort is, and there's no way you can doubt that UNLV isn't putting forth the effort. Their defense is certainly showing that, and they're playing very well.
You really have to appreciate Dieter Collins for taking on the challenge of resurrecting the UNLV program. I mean, here's a person who is not only one of the great players in U.S. volleyball history, but one of the best players in the world, certainly during her time. She's played at the highest level of competition, 3-time All-American at one of the great programs in Hawaii, an Olympian. Yet she's ready to get down and get her hands dirty and build the program up in a very tough conference. That's confidence in her abilities.
It is, and I wonder how hard it is to not want to just get out there and do it yourself sometimes.
This is a game point for BYU, but they're unable to close the door, and Oswald goes high off the block and gets the kill to tie it at 30.
What a great swing for Oswald. With Clemente substituting back in, this is a very good position for UNLV.
And they go away from her, but the block is there. Good pass for King, and the attack. Kirshner is dug. Here's Metcalf from the 10-foot line. Oswald hits it just wide, inches wide. Point BYU.
Great swing for Oswald, that sharp cross court. She's way outside the antenna. There's nowhere else she really can go, and yet she takes a huge swing at that ball.
And a service error by one of your leaders. Wickenen hits it into the net and ties it at 31. It was a game point for BYU. Looked over. King, one-handed set. Kirsten wasn't ready for it. There was a 13th service error by BYU a moment ago. And yet they're able to come out of that with the lead and serving again for the game. Kim Wilson, Franchini. Good pass for King. And the attack goes wide, and BYU has survived in game 3 to win it 33-31. What a battle this has been between the seeds 4 and 5. It's BYU on top now, 2-1.
Oh, the fun of searching frantically for a gas station where you can fill her up on your way back to the airport. The excitement of wondering if you'll miss your plane. And the joy of spilling gasoline on your new suit. Forget it. When Emerald Club members return their cars, National Car Rental fills their tanks at gas station prices. And that's not just an empty promise.
You can go your own way. Go your own way. Share your heart with another.
At 7-Up, we're not just about selling soft drinks. We're about bringing people together. People from all over the world, all walks of life. Democrats, Republicans, oil company executives, environmentalists, East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, all here to sing in peace and harmony. A little louder, everybody. I can barely hear the singing.
Looking for the finest quality merchandise on TV? Watch the Gem Shopping Network. Buy directly from a team of gemologists offering gemstones, jewelry, and collectibles, minerals and fossils from paleontologists. Join the excitement of live auctions and interactive shopping from the original TV Gemstone Show. Learn and shop at the same time. The Gem Shopping Network, innovators of TV shopping.
You know the best way to advertise your local business? You're watching it right now. Cable television. You see, without getting technical, the last stop cable makes before it's sent out is a local facility where commercials are inserted for that neighborhood. Now add how cable's specialized programming targets viewers, and how precise is that? And you're on TV, a big fish in your own pond. Cable advertising. For a small business, it's very big.
Welcome to Luxury Lifestyles of Las Vegas, the premier show that will feature the best of what Las Vegas has to offer. You'll get to take a tour of exquisite home listings.
West Volleyball Tournament. First round action, the 4th seed BYU leads the 5th seed UNLV 2-1. You saw the scores a moment ago. UNLV, by all accounts in this match, blew out BYU in game 1 30-27, because the other two games have gone to extra points, 32-30 and 33-31. So BYU, who has survived a couple of challenges in each of the games that they have won, now has control of the match. I would imagine we may see the intensity of the UNLV Rebels taken up a couple of notches. The winner of this match moves on to the semifinals. The loser, season is over. And it's BYU with the opening serve of game number 4. First time we've gone beyond 3 in the tournament. And it's Leiana Oswald with the attack, the kill, and the point for UNLV. And she'll serve. Oswald, a junior from British Columbia. A couple of big hitters battle at the net.
And Carrie Bowers uses her head on that ball, tries to block it. It gets hit into her head and falls on UNLV's side. Very fortunate for the Cougars.
And that's ripped through the block by Kirshner. So that's a pretty good duel between those two.
Kirshner really doing a good job finding that ball. She means business.
Now, was that Barbara?
It must have been.
Apparently, there are different personalities for Christina Kirshner. She's intense. They call her Barbara.
What a fabulous tip from Carrie Bowers right over the block of UNLV. Very, very difficult ball to dig, even if you're there.
Terry Bowers, a junior from Salt Lake City. Sahara Castillo serving for BYU. Asun Sao with a kill and a point for UNLV.
And it's interesting that Allison Larson lining up on the line. She must have forgotten that Asun Sao really likes cross court. The first game, what was working for them is when she moved the ball moved the block in.
Bowers gets a kill and ties it up at 3.
Carrie Bowers getting a little more involved in the latter part of the third game and in this game. Really moving the ball around, hitting those threes, running behind. If she can find a seam, she's effective.
On the run, Blair Wilkes gets a kill. She has been the offensive star of the night for UNLV. That's her 17th kill. She leads all attackers. Metcalf has 15, Wilson 11 for BYU.
Blair Wilkes on the tight slide, hits that ball deep. Carrie Bowers sucked way in defensively.
Poor receive, Metcalf taps it over. Franchini had it. Oswald with the attack. Neither team passing particularly well to their setters. Oswald lets it go. Here's Puikkonen. And Larson gets the kill. That's what happens when you have a good pass and you're able to get a nice tight set to the net.
And BYU able to run the double quick, drawing the block. Larson hammering that ball. Asunzao, really nice heads-up play to know that when Larson hits, you better keep your hands up by your face.
And a service ace for BYU. 5-4 Cougars. Larson with the ace. Those aces have been rare in comparison to the errors, however. Like that. It's almost one ace for every 3 errors for BYU tonight.
It is, and you really want 1 to 2 more. 1 to 3, not so much.
5-5. Larson goes to the bench. Wilkes with the serve at Castillo. And Puikkonen dumps it into the net. Karina Puikkonen. Nobody was more relieved at the end of game number 3 than Karina Puikkonen. She had a very ugly service error at a very inopportune time, but her team was able to pull out the victory. Oswald blocked, tapped around, Crab to Metcalf. Oswald again. Good dig by Castillo. Another free chance for UNLV. And a free pass on a free ball. Unbelievable.
Oh, UNLV, so unfortunate in that situation. A great opportunity to transition, take that point. Anytime you get, like you said, that free ball. It's called a free ball because you might as well just give them a kill.
Metcalf with a nice serve. Oswald with the tip. Good job by Wilson to keep it alive. There's a free chance now for UNLV, and that attack is cut into the net. Kirshner looks a little fatigued. She did not have a lot of elevation on that attack.
And UNLV really needs to capitalize when BYU gives them opportunities, because as we saw in Game 3, neither team was giving the other many opportunities, and it came down to just those little chances.
And there's a setter winning a joust.
Shorter setter. Thing is, when I did that, I always ended up on the ground, so it looked worse when I lost it.
Well, Nielsen put her hands down, but didn't go down all the way on her backside. And that attack goes long. It's another point for UNLV. They've tied it. Actually, they've taken the lead 8-7. Well, there have been a couple of missed opportunities early on in this game. UNLV could have control of this. And a good service rotation for the Rebels. That's an ace that gives them a 2-point advantage. In the previous game, neither team had more than a 3-point lead throughout the entire game. Finally won by BYU. Here's Wilson into the block. Ocasio Clemente has really changed the dynamic at the net for UNLV. Another joust, and again it's won by UNLV. And that will take us to the 10-point mark and bring us to a timeout. Probably the last thing that Deidre Collins wanted, because her team right now has some momentum and they're on a roll. But it's UNLV with the lead, 10-7 on BYU in game number 4.
The moment is now. The Barclay Card English Premier
Barclay Card English Premier League Soccer live on Cox Cable.
Every Sunday night on ESPN, the NFL takes center stage. See who will shine.
Waiting for the end zone, Patton, touchdown.
Which teams will speak the loudest. And what performances will never be forgotten.
Alexander in the middle of the field, and he's gone.
Anything can happen in prime time. Sundays at 8:30, only on ESPN Sunday Night Football.
Brought to you by Coast Casinos, home of the Ties Win Parlay Card.
Christina Kirshner and the UNLV Rebels lead BYU by a score of 10-7, and this match mentioned changed quite a bit when Ocasio Clemente entered the lineup for UNLV, and Asunsao was able to get a nice break during that second game. And UNLV's been on a bit of a roll. They probably did not want to see that 10-point timeout. Didn't matter. They got the point out of the break, and they now lead it by 4. That's a huge lead in this match.
A huge block on a tight set. That's always fun when you're a blocker, when you know that you're going to roof the ball.
Oswald uses the block. Nice play by Crabb. Otherwise, that thing was destined for a point. And there's an attack that goes long by Wilson. And it is a point for UNLV. 12-7, Rebels. UNLV in this game hitting over 300. BYU not yet at 100. On the run, Metcalf gets there, and Wilson rolls it over, setting it free. That's great. Hustle by BYU. Now they got to hustle back defensively, and they're not able to do it. Ocasio Clemente with the kill.
That's a good job by UNLV to, out of that off-tempo play, to run a quick middle, because that really throws off the BYU defense. They don't have time to set up. To run that quick slide, Clemente's able to easily use the hands of Kim Wilson.
And Karen Lamb has used the timeout to talk to her troops. BYU does have, I guess you could say, a game to play with, because they do lead this match 2-1. But UNLV has been battling very hard from the very start of this match, and with this being, well, the cliche, their backs to the wall, we thought they would come out here in game number 4, step up the intensity, the urgency. They don't win this game, their season is over with, and they really have stepped it up, and as a result, they lead this by 6, 13-7. Now, in the previous game, no team got up by more than 3.
And right now, they're on a 7-0 run on these Cougars. And I think you said before BYU has a game to play with. Nobody in the gym, no one likes game 5s, because game 5, anything can happen. It only is to 15, and really, I think both teams, well, obviously UNLV wants a game 5, but both teams would prefer to finish a game match in 4 or 3 if they had their way.
Yeah, in game 5, there is an incredible sense of urgency, and you might be the most experienced team. You might be Stanford with all the banners in your building, but a game 5, there's a sense of nerves that is really noticeable, no matter what time of the season it is, but especially when you're at tournament time. And out of the break, a service ace for UNLV. It's a 7-point advantage, 14-7. And there's an error that ends the run. That was 8-0 for UNLV. It's now 14-8 after the error. King scrambling. Attack looped over. Nice play by Mahaffey. He's done a nice job defensively for the Cougars. Asunsao diving into the press table. And the Rebels scramble to keep it alive. Still scrambling defensively to get set up. Ocasio Clemente rolls it over. Things settle down now on the UNLV side. Kim Wilson is blocked and dug. And it's attacked into the antenna. Leiana Oswald, and she comes crashing into our good friend TJ, who is really going to want to raise once this thing is over with.
And what an amazing play. Great defense from BYU. And more importantly, UNLV.
You want to get in the action, here you go.
I think that's interesting that Dietrich Collins is saying that the camera affected the swing. I don't see how that could. If anything, she cushioned the blow.
It affected the landing. It affected the landing, there's no doubt about that.
Oh, that's true.
And now Karen Lamb wants to discuss things. And if they do rule that it might be, yeah, now they're adjusting the shot. TJ's tucked in there a little more tightly.
And understandably, Dietrich Collins is very aware of potential injury situations.
Attack from the middle, great dig by Franchini.
The defense of UNLV has stepped it up another level. They're just playing great right now.
Yeah, this is the best that we've seen so far. Look at that block. Bowers is blocked out of bounds. Blocked for a point, but again, there's a message there. Even though Oswald wasn't able to keep the ball in play, that block has been impenetrable by the BYU attack.
It has, and if you have to work that hard for 1 point, it's very, very tiring.
Nice up by Wilson. Put up by Asunsao. And that's tooled. That block is tooled by Oswald for the point. And UNLV is back up to a 5-point advantage.
See that Oswald with the great tool to get that point, keep her team up by 5.
Poked over, and that's blocked. Wilson was very effective in the opening game on that outside shot, but there was no Ocasio Clemente to try and go through or around.
She did, and what a great heads-up play to be at the net, ready to swing, but Clemente's right there.
Says, wait a minute, where did she come from? Service receive is not there for BYU. Kirshner. And Puikkonen with the kill. Tell you what, Mahaffey, number 17 for BYU, is all over the floor. Michelle, the senior from Martinez, California. She's done a nice job in the back row for the Cougars. She's out now. Here comes Asunsao. Metcalf got a hand on it. Crabb runs it down. Puikkonen gives it back to the Rebels. Poked in the middle by Kirshner. Crabb got a hand on it, but Wilson couldn't run it down. Metcalf watched it fall into the bench, and the Rebels have regained a 6-point lead, 17-11.
I think UNLV is really controlling the service game right now. BYU really struggling, can't get into any offensive flow.
Wilson well off the net, into the block. Wilkes slaps it over for the kill. Now this is all dominated by the defense of UNLV, and a timeout has been taken by BYU. The butter's starting to slip off the biscuit for the Cougars. 18-11 is our score.
UNLV clearly in control, passing the ball up at the net, can run quick middle to get that kill.
And for BYU, maybe we're at 18-11. They've used their last timeout. And in the last game, they ran out of substitutions, which in this era of the libero is very tough to do. Meanwhile, Deidre Collins, there was a point in game 1 or game 2 where she was kind of animated. I think it was in game number 2. But for the most part, she seemed to be very composed and pleased with the way her team has played. And she has to be ecstatic. She's probably not going to show the emotion. But her team here in game number 4 has been fantastic. This is the best volleyball, I think, that we've seen in the tournament so far.
Definitely. And I think Deidre Collins understands volleyball games and kind of the ebb and flow of how they work. And when she did get fired up, she realized that her team was letting the game slip away from them, and they needed to step up and do a better job, and they ended up coming out in that game 1 and taking the game.
Kirshner will serve. 18-11 UNLV, game number 4. Puikkonen to the middle. Wilson tried to use the top of the block. Is there a touch? No call. She went too tall with it, and it's an 8-point UNLV advantage. Well, if we go to a game number 5, and we talked about the nerves that can settle in when you get to a game 5, especially in a tournament situation, and as Kirshner sends it wide in the air, gives BYU a point. How tough will it be for UNLV to maintain this level of play? Do they get a little tight because they played so well to force it, and does BYU then get a bit of a lift that, okay, we've had a bad game?
Well, I think right now UNLV is clearly in the position they want to be. They have a lot of players that are doing the job for them and that they can set, whereas BYU, in looking at their team, they don't have anyone playing well right now.
Sun Sao with a huge kill. That gets UNLV to 20. We've got a timeout. It's all UNLV right now.
What does it take to compete in the Mountain West Conference?
Discipline.
The same stuff it takes to outperform in the global marketplace.
Dedication.
In the field of travel technology, WorldSpan is the class, the franchise.
5 kills in the match from the setter position, 10 digs, 39 assists, so she's reached the double-double mark. 3 service errors. 1 was huge in the previous game, but her team survived to win. And an overpass on that serve, and Wilkes records her 19th kill of the match. Blair Wilkes is hitting at a 536 clip. Good pass for Puikkonen. There's Larson. Amy, you and I were talking during the break. Who does BYU go to? And my question was, where is Larson?
And we were saying it's unfortunate that she is on the right side because she really relies on a pass, and they can't get her the ball unless they have any sort of pass. And right now, the passing at BYU is really struggling.
Net violation on BYU. Free point for UNLV.
And right when BYU seems like they have an opportunity to get back in this game, they have an unfortunate net call.
Sun Sao sends the serve right through the hands of Wheeler Crabb.
UNLV, doing a great job serving. I can't applaud them enough. They've done their job and then some because they haven't made any errors.
There's Larson with an attack and a kill. Well, it was Sun Sao's serving in game number 3 that brought them back. She got on a bit of a roll. See if Larson, who has a pretty good jump serve of her own, can reel off some points for the Cougars. Nope, service error.
And what BYU needs is some output from their outside hitters where they weren't getting that before, so they may go to a substitution. I would think, you know, they really might as well. They have nothing to lose right now.
24-14, a 10-point lead for UNLV, the biggest of the match so far, and an overpass on the serve again, and it's King who gets the kill. Everybody's getting involved.
Well, when you're getting so many overpasses, you want to spread it around, give everyone an opportunity. BYU just cannot put a pass together.
Cricket forced to bump the set, and the block is up. That was well off the net, and again gave UNLV's block enough time to set. 26-14.
And you can just tell right now BYU mentality is certainly not there.
Let's get to game 5. Forget about 4.
And that's what I think they have to think about right now, is that game 4 is probably lost. What they need to try to get is some momentum going into game 5 so that they can come out and hopefully win that game and the match.
Well, you might be talking about a situation where right now it's 26-15, UNLV on top. Maybe you get to 20. You get to 21 or 22 points, and instead of losing by double digits, that certainly looks a whole lot better than the way things have gone.
Exactly. You just want to turn this game around going into the 5th. As we see April Varner coming in for Kim Wilson on the outside for BYU.
Varner, number 3.
And that defensive play at the net from UNLV has just been amazing.
Another great up by Asunsao. She sets it free. Still developing slide, Nielsen. Good dig, Franchini. And that attack is into the block, and it falls to the floor, out of bounds at the point for the Rebels.
Tell you what, this UNLV team could definitely surprise some people this tournament. They have great athleticism, a lot of talent.
And a ball handling error called on Metcalf. 29-15. Game point, game number 4 for UNLV. And that's hammered home by Nielsen. (29-16), another game point. Well, quite frankly, it's just a matter of time before we start talking about being in game 5. And that's punched through by Kirshner, and we are going to game 5. Christina Kirshner with the final kill of the 4th game. UNLV dominates BYU. The score 30-16. Games are tied at 2 games apiece. We'll come back. It's a sprint to the finish in game number 5, and we'll get there right after this.
For me.
Right now, all this guy's thinking about is getting home so he can let his dog out. He's late. So it's fair to assume that he's not thinking about his Cooper tires and all they're doing to help him get home. No, all he's thinking about is his new rug and Benny's small bladder.
Hold on, Benny. Oh, buddy. Hold on there. Yeah, I'll be home in a minute, buddy. Hold on.
Full blend, please remember. You have the saddle with the cream color tipping or the navy with the saddle tipping. It is on sale for you.
We're tied at 11. Stick around. This one is really shaping up to be fun.
You can have a football party anywhere, but the Axe of Liberty Bowl in Memphis takes it to a whole new level. The food, the music, the fun never stops. And New Year's Eve in downtown Memphis.
High drama at tournament time. This match tied up at 2 games apiece, and game number 5 is tied up at 11. UNLV has the serve.
UNLV in great position right now with the rotation they have in the game. But Carrie Bowers on the slide. Very, very timely kill into the corner.
Ocasio Clemente is back in there for UNLV. They've got a much taller lineup than the one that they've had. Ocasio Clemente was stuck on the bench for a while. Good pass for King. There's Oswald. The block is there, down for the point, and UNLV now trails it by 2. It's BYU 13, UNLV 11, and another timeout is called.
And just amazing, Oswald hasn't been blocked this much the entire match. And in the past 3 swings, she's been blocked every single time. Very, very interesting.
And it was Larson who got the hands up. Allison Larson, the senior from Richland, Washington.
So now what's going to be interesting for UNLV is who do they go to get this side out. Oswald was the one that has been the one that's been getting the ball throughout the match in these tight situations. Gwen Wilkes is in the back row. You have Clemente in the front row. She's mainly in there for her block, although she's been effective on the slide, so they could give her the ball.
Well, Brigham Young has never lost in the first round of the Mountain West Conference Tournament. And after a demoralizing loss in game number 4, they have really picked things up here in game 5. UNLV took the first one 30-26, dropped the middle 2, 32-30 and 33-31. Then it was all Rebels in the 4th game. They had all the momentum in the world. And then perhaps the reality of the end of the season coming into play for BYU. And now they have taken control of this match. They're 2 points away from moving on to the semis. Oswald again. Another great dig by Crabb. And she's going to have to set it free. Kirshner goes to King. Clemente blocked.
Great block by Bowers, turning that into a free ball.
And a kill for Kim Wilson, and BYU is at match point.
Bowers had a great touch on that block, turns it into an easy free ball that BYU can convert for their match point.
14-11, match point here. They got it, BYU moves on.
And what a story. Blocking comes into play. 4 blocks for BYU. The last 5 points of that match.
UNLV played as well as any team that we have seen so far, and certainly in game number 4, played like a team that was ready to make a statement and move on and say, we can win this thing and shock the country and go play in the NCAA tournament, but will not be the case. This season that has been such a tough one for UNLV with the 10-match losing streak and all the injuries. It comes to the end on this play, game number 5. And for BYU, it's the block.
It's block Allison Larson, block on the outside. How exciting for this BYU team. They get to move on to the semifinals.
And that is our Nike play of the game. Allison Larson was outstanding offensively early on, but it's her block at the end that helps her team advance to the semifinals. So it will be BYU in the winner of the Air Force Academy and Colorado State. And now let's salute our Cooper Tires student athletes of the game. And for UNLV, it's Blair Wilkes, 20 kills, 4 blocks. Look at the hitting percentage.
Just amazing, and you wonder if the match would have been different had she been in the front row rather than in the back row towards the end of that 5th game.
And for Brigham Young University, well, it could have been just about anybody. Kim Wilson played well early, as did Allison Larson. I thought Wheeler Crab played very well in game number 5, but it's Lindsay Metcalf, 17 kills. She really played strong in the first 3 games.
Lindsay Metcalf provided the offense that the BYU team needed from the outside hitters. In that game 5, she came out after struggling passing and was able to get a few quick kills to give BYU the momentum to take that game.
So BYU wins game 1, game 4, and game 5, 15-11. A game 5 victory for the Cougars, and they move on to the semis. Well, coming up to round out the first round of the Mountain West Conference Volleyball Tournament, it will be the top seed, the regular season champion, the Colorado State Rams, the host Rams. And they'll take on a team from right down the road, the Air Force Academy Falcons, who come in as the number 8 seed. So CSU and Air Force will round out the first round of the Mountain West Conference Volleyball Tournament. So far, San Diego State, Utah, and BYU have moved on. Will it be the Rams or the Falcons? We'll find out on the Mountain West Conference Television Network. For Amy Gant, I'm Bill Dolman. BYU defeats UNLV in 5. So long from Moby Arena in Fort Collins, Colorado.